YouTube, how's it going? The Goat House is back. Just a couple days away from NFL free agency. I got predictions. It's going to be a two-parter, 2 videos, each one full of the best free agents, where I narrowed down the landing spots. Kind of my goal was to make it so, all right, this guy's going to sign with one of these teams, and they end up with signing with one of those teams. I do have a final prediction where I pick one team for each player as well. So that's 2 videos, 2 separate videos. If you're looking for a free agent, he's not in this video. He's probably going to be in the next one. Maybe it's already up by now. We got a playlist full of free agency videos and coverage. We have trade grades. People are probably looking for Khalil Mack trade grade, Amari Cooper trade grade on our Twitter. I'll put links in the comments that'll bring you directly to that. I got thoughts and a grade. You're missing out if you're not following our Twitter. There's all kinds of news, rumors, thoughts, predictions on there. Always talking numbers. Subscribe, turn notifications on while you're at it. We're going to grade every free agency signing once it all kicks off. We're going to have videos coming out rapid fire. Love doing those every year, so hopefully you join us for all that. Here's our Twitter. Yeah, just a lot of updates on what I'm doing, with videos, what's going on in the NFL, some news, my thoughts. There's the grades. Check out the Twitter. There's a link down below. So we're still at the top free agent, Tyron Armstead. I think it's everyone's top free agent, left tackle from the Saints. At one point it felt like the Saints not getting him back. There's no way. Saints are, they're clearing space like we expected them to, but it looks like they can actually clear a little bit more into the positive as well to possibly get a guy like Tyron Armstead back. It sounds like they are after Deshaun Watson too. So if you're going to get Deshaun Watson, you'd like to have one of the best left tackles in football there for him. It might be tough to do both. So you got a list of teams that I narrowed it down to. There's going to be loads of teams interested in a left tackle like Armstead, but I narrowed it down. I'm going to be pretty shocked if he doesn't land on one of those teams. So that was kind of my goal with this video. Get that list of teams out that I'm going to be shocked if he's not on one of those teams. But with my prediction, I'm going to go with the Miami Dolphins. They're expected to be, there's teams that have a lot of cap space, but not every year people expect those teams with a lot of cap space to go crazy, and they don't always. Sometimes they miss out on guys. Sometimes they're not eager to build the entire team year one. But the Dolphins are a team that are looking to use that cap space. They're a team that's going to try to go big in free agency, and they need a left tackle. You get a proven left tackle right here. He definitely fits Mike McDaniel's scheme over there. They're pretty much settled at defense. They're pretty much set at defense. Couple things here and there, but focusing on this offense, especially the offensive line, if you want Tua Tagovailoa to work. So I'm going to go with the Dolphins as my prediction. Yeah, I got quite a few other teams there that could be interested. I'm starting to believe that it's more realistic than we thought that he can go back to the Saints, and the Steelers are probably my other choice. So if I had to pick a top 3, it's been rumored the Jags weren't on Tyron Armstead. They franchise tagged Cam Robinson. They could still be on Armstead and then trade Cam Robinson, so that'd be interesting as well. Panthers might be focused on Deshaun Watson, but they would like a left tackle. I don't think the Bears will be crazy spenders. They got spending money. I don't think they'll be crazy spenders. The Colts tried to work a deal with Eric Fisher, but he's asking too much. So will they all of a sudden go for a big upgrade when they were just good with Eric Fisher? So that's a little tricky as well. But those are the teams. I'm mainly looking at the Dolphins, back to the Saints, or the Pittsburgh Steelers. But I wouldn't be surprised at any of those teams right there. Next up, probably the trickiest one on this to actually predict like a final landing spot. Tyron Matthews is probably the toughest one for me, because how many teams? There's not too many teams that really need a safety that bad. One, and number 2, how many teams are going to view him as a fit? Because he's that strong safety that's going to play a lot in the slot. The Chiefs ran a lot of man coverage, so is a team that runs some man gonna want him? But I do think he can mix it up a little bit. But looking at the teams that he can go to, he could go back to the Chiefs, even doesn't really seem like it at the moment. So I put them there. If you want to take a hometown discount, go to the Saints. I heard that's a possibility, but Saints they're so focused on their own guys and Deshaun Watson that may be a little surprising. Pairing with Justin Simmons at Denver. He's been linked to Baltimore, but again, he's more that strong safety type. Chuck Clark is kind of that different type of strong safety, but I'm thinking the Ravens might be more in the market for a free safety. So I really like Philadelphia, Washington, and Pittsburgh. Those were kind of my 3 favorites. And again, he could go back to the Chiefs, but it doesn't really sound like he's too thrilled with them at the moment. I went with Washington, and it made it, and I was feeling a little more confident about this one before the Commanders traded for Carson Wentz because now they're pretty thin on cap space. They cut Laken Tomlinson to clear a little bit more, so they can pay Mathieu. The only problem is it might be it. It might be their free agency, and they are a little tight on cap in the future as well. That's due to Carson Wentz, but they can move on from his contract, but that wouldn't be ideal because you trade for him. But I do like the fit with Mathieu in Washington. Keep Cameron Curl at free safety. Landon Collins is more that linebacker type strong safety, more just a linebacker. Matthew's that strong safety that can cover, that can play in the slot, and then allows you to put Kendall Fuller back outside opposite of William Jackson too, so which I think they like. So I think they'll be interested in Mathieu. I do like the Eagles. I was kind of back and forth with them, and the Eagles mainly as the top two. So I'm going to go with my original gut, though, with the Commanders, but this is one that we could expect the unexpected here with Tyron Matthews. So I'm very curious to see where he lands. Another big-time free agent, J.C. Jackson. Another tough one, too. The corners, you get one wrong on where he's going to go, and then it's chain reaction with the other corners here. So we kind of have an idea where these corners will land, what teams are going to get corners, I should say, but finding the exact specific landing spots. But, yeah, these are the teams I feel pretty good about him landing with, teams that have a lot of cap space and a need at corner and could use a man coverage corner. There's some teams that just don't really have interest in a guy that's just kind of only a man coverage guy, and I'm sure teams would be confident he can mix it up a little bit, but there's a lot of teams out there that will rarely run man coverage. They're mainly zone. He will not fit that. So look at the Chargers, Raiders, Jets, Seahawks, and Steelers. Some of those teams have kind of been, and they've run, in the past, they ran maybe a little bit more zone, but I think those teams are kind of gearing towards more man coverage, or a team like the Steelers trying to go back to the man coverage there where they had success on defense. I went with the Raiders, though. I think the Raiders are going to be big-time spenders in free agency. They got a lot of future cap. They cleared a lot of space already for this year, too, so they're kind of gearing up for that. They definitely need a corner. They want to get a guy that has the ability to run some man coverage if they want to. So I went with the Raiders. I know the Chargers will be interested. Good fit with the Steelers to get them back going to man coverage. The Jets got a load of money. The Seahawks cleared some space, so it's a tough one to decide here. But I'm going to go with the Raiders. I also could see the Raiders trading for a guy like Bradbury. I've talked about that in the past because they have the connection with Patrick Graham. So we'll see what they do. Well, I think teams like that might want to trade for a guy, they're going to first see if they get a guy like J.C. Jackson or Carlton Davis, who we'll talk about, or Stephon Gilmore, who we'll talk about, or Dante Jackson, who we'll talk about in the next video. Again, if you're skimming through, we're going to have 2 videos of this. But I'm going to predict the Raiders here, but it's going to be interesting to see where he goes. He's very good corner, but I do worry he gets overpaid as well. I'm not a big fan of paying corners huge money. That's just kind of, me. I haven't really valued the cornerback position maybe as much as some others. I wouldn't draft one super high either, unless it's Jalen Ramsey for either of those. I'd pay Jalen Ramsey, if he's that good, or I'd draft him high, when he was a prospect. So we'll see. J.C. Jackson should be a hot name, though. Von Miller, I might have went a little bold with this one because everything's pointing towards him going not back to the Rams, back to the Broncos based on the way he's talking on social media and based on the way others are talking as well. So I feel like I went bold here because it just really sounds like Denver, but I think he might be trolling a little bit. And then I was like, why would he troll Denver? They did trade him, though. They did trade him away, and he won a Super Bowl. He's having fun. I just still get the feeling he's going to end up back with the Rams, but I'm mainly looking at – I almost just listed the 2 teams on this one. I'm mainly looking at the Rams and the Broncos. I guess I went bold, really narrowing it down to a limited teams here because if he ends up on another team, I guess I can look like an idiot. But it's bound to happen, all the free agents we're talking about. So I'm predicting the Rams, though. I feel like he's going to go back there. I think they really want him back. They valued him in that trade. I think he might be trolling a little bit. I could be wrong. Could be end up with the Broncos, and then I guess this one would blow up in my face as well. But if Von Miller and Chandler Jones are like pretty much the same guy in this free agency. Veteran pass rusher, still get after the quarterback at a high level. Can fit 3-4 or 4-3, but they both kind of get more of that 3-4 feeling because that's where they're coming from. So if the Broncos don't get Von Miller, maybe they won't even go for him. Maybe they go for Chandler Jones instead. So that's why I went with that prediction. I was originally feeling for like the last month, I was feeling the Ravens for Chandler Jones. I was really, really feeling the Ravens. So I'm kind of going away from my original gut which sometimes my original gut ends up being, most of the time it ends up being right. So I'd watch out for the Ravens just for that reason. Could go back to the Cardinals, even though it doesn't sound like it. The Chiefs and the Colts could be interested as well, but I really like the Ravens. The first three, Ravens, Broncos, Cardinals. If the Rams miss out on Von Miller, do they go to Chandler Jones? Can they pay him? So that's possible. I'm going to predict the Broncos, though. Didn't have them going Von Miller, got them going Chandler Jones, and they're starting to build, they had some veteran contender type pieces already with Russell Wilson, now Chandler Jones. Next up, we got Randy Gregory, who should be a pretty hot name. I think he's actually improving at this stage of his career. Cowboys could bring him back. They're clear in space right now, so they could look to bring him back. Chiefs, Colts, Seahawks, Eagles. I was back and forth changing my mind on him going back to the Cowboys because, again, the Cowboys are clear in space, and they would like him back. But I also get the feeling that the Cowboys want to add some new type of players in to actually not stay the same and improve their team. I'm going to go with the Chiefs. The Chiefs are going to be desperate for a defensive end. I think Gregory fits them. Again, desperate. They're going to need somebody like this that can get after the quarterback. Maybe they save in terms of spending when it comes to letting Tyron Matthews walk. Again, they can end up getting him back. But I was kind of feeling the Chiefs, but the Cowboys very well could get him back. I was originally thinking the Cowboys are getting him back, not only because, remember, like I said, they're clear in space, so maybe they can get him back, but because I was kind of wondering what his market would be. Off the field issues in the past has really only worked out for the Cowboys. Just this past year, so will teams be hesitant? But I heard the market's pretty strong. Teams are showing some interest. So I'm going to go to the Chiefs. I'd look out for the Chiefs to clearing space, too. They're still going to restructure some contracts. And we got back-to-back players landing on the Chiefs. JuJu SmithSchuster, who will have interest from several teams. Remember, again, he's something to remember. He's a slot receiver, obviously, so teams looking for those slot receivers here, kind of a big slot. And I was really thinking about I would really like him with the Jags. The Jags need a guy that can get separation from the inside. The Chiefs and the Eagles as well. Could the Browns, the Browns just earlier today got Amari Cooper. It sounds like they're going to move him Jarvis Landry. Need a slot receiver. Could they, break the bank on receivers this offseason? Maybe a little on the unlikely side now, but that'd be interesting. I think the Eagles will really be after JuJu Smith-Schuster, so that's a team to look out for. I went with the Chiefs, though. They were interested in him last year. They actually even offered him more money than the Steelers did last year. Again, I think they're going to move some money around. They can easily do that because they've been good with their contracts and their money in the past. And when you have good, big contracts, Patrick Mahomes, you're able to move around some money. So the Chiefs, don't be alarmed at their cap space right now. They're going to be able to clear a lot pretty easily, in my opinion. So I'm going to go with JuJu for the Chiefs. I think a big reason the Chiefs got stopped in the playoffs, why they allowed to come back and why they couldn't get much going on offense is because, teams are just dropping more guys in coverage, and more teams are gearing towards that. I think the Chiefs kind of started a wave of defenses, how teams game plan on defense. So basically more guys in coverage, you double up Tyreek Hill and you double up Travis Kelce, it's ball game. So if you get a legit slot receiver in here, big-time problems for defenses. So I think they're going to do what it takes to, and they realize it's actually their biggest need, even though pass rush it's right there with it. But I got them 2 in a row there. I got the Chiefs landing some guys. Next up, we got Carlton Davis, so another corner, same teams that need a corner. I originally was going to go with the Jets because I do like the fit and the different coverages that Salah runs, typically more cover 3 in the past, but last year man coverage. I think Carlton Davis is good at mixing both of those up there. If they want to throw, they can pretty much throw anything in there. So it's a very good young corner. So I was really thinking about the Jets, and their focus could be on offensive line and maybe slightly cheaper option at corner. Again, if the Raiders miss out on J.C. Jackson, then Carlton Davis definitely an option here. Really like the fit with Seattle as well. I'm going to go Pittsburgh, though, and he could go back to Tampa. They got some clearing to do. Sounds like they're going to be on Deshaun Watson, so it might be tough to do all of the above. I'm going to go with Pittsburgh. I think, because they were always like a Mike Tomlin strict, firm man coverage in the past. This past year, not much man coverage at all, actually towards the bottom of the NFL, which was weird, a lot of zone. And I do think it's because they didn't really have the talent they did in the past to run as much man as they did, but I still think he's gearing towards mixing it up. Let's run some man, let's run some zone. So this is a guy that it's a good corner to mixing both those up here. So, and they have the cap space as well. It sounds like they'll be focused on a rookie for quarterback perhaps. So spend your money here. I go Carlton Davis to the Steelers. I do like the fit for the Jets and the Seahawks as well. Raiders definitely in on him, possibly if they miss out on, if somebody else gets J.C. Jackson, Raiders, Carlton Davis, that kind of stock goes up there too. So they should be in on a very solid corner. And speaking of the Raiders, I have the Raiders having a pretty big free agency here because they're clearing cap space for this year and they have loads of cap space in the future. They want to appeal to Derek Carr. They're trying to get him extended. They need an outside receiver. So Allen Robinson he might have made himself some money with all these other teams taking outside receivers off the market, including Calvin Ridley taking himself off the market. And then, a guy like Amari Cooper gets traded to the Browns. So Allen Robinson, a legit outside receiver. I really thought about the Patriots here. The Dolphins missed out on Amari Cooper, so I thought about the Dolphins. The Jets missed out on Amari Cooper. I really thought about the Jets. The Jags, could Allen Robinson go back to the Jags? I know it's kind of tough to see, but why? I guess it's just a different staff there. And the Lions could use an outside receiver as well. I wouldn't expect the Lions to be too crazy with their money because their draft class is going to cost quite a bit of cap, and they're kind of just worried about the future anyways. They'll spend a little bit, but I don't know if it's a whole lot. I went with the Raiders. I think an outside receiver like this. I think Allen Robinson fits with Derek Carr, fits with a guy like Hunter Renfrow. So I'm going the Raiders here. Really, mainly the Patriots and the Dolphins were kind of next up there. Really thought about those teams. So Patriots, Dolphins, who are in the market for an outside receiver, watch out for them as well. But the Raiders land another big-time one here. Next up, Laken Tomlinson. So you see these teams that need a guard. They also have loads of money. San Francisco would definitely like him back. They're a little tight right now, but they can get a lot of space just by moving on from Garoppolo. That's a tricky situation. Him getting hurt, having surgery, was a tough blow for San Francisco. So we'll see what happens there. It's a tricky one. I do like the Bengals, though, but I really like, teams that have the 49ers tree. Look at the Dolphins and you look at the Jets. They need guards, and they have some staff that came from the 49ers. So they saw how good Laken Tomlinson is. They have that chemistry with them. So I really, it's hard to see him away from the 49ers at the same time. So I really thought about those teams that had 49ers in either the 49ers or the teams that have the kind of the background as well. But I went with the Bengals. They got a load of cap space. They know it's okay if they overpay for a guy like this. Pretty tough to overpay for a guy like this. He's very good, but because they're right there and they're really in the market for either guard spot. But take Laken Tomlinson, put him at left guard. So I was feeling the Bengals, but yeah, could go back to the Niners. I really look at I'd say the Dolphins next. I'd say the Bengals, 49ers, Dolphins is mainly what I'm looking at there for Laken Tomlinson, who should get a payday as he's a big-time guard. Another guard, Branden Sheriff. So here's the Jets. Here's my Jets prediction. I really don't think Sheriff ends up back with Washington. Just kind of get that feeling. So Miami pops up again. The Jets, the Bengals, if they miss out on Laken Tomlinson, they go Sheriff. Steelers and Jags, other teams that have a lot of cap space, and they're looking for a guard. I'm feeling the Jets, though. They like Elijah Vera Tucker at left. They're going to bring in a guy that has experience at right, and Branden Sheriff. They could afford to pay him. This is one of those free agents I'm not as high on everyone else because the injury concern is real. It's legit. And that's why maybe the Bengals, people have been saying the Bengals for sure, but maybe why they won't be full go because the Bengals fully expect to be playing later in the year. Will he actually be available to us? So I like the fit with the Jets, him at right guard there. So that was my prediction. Be interesting to see if he is the guy that goes right away or teams wait around a little bit because they rather get somebody else more healthy and cheaper at the same time. So be pretty interesting. Next up, Stephon Gilmore. So back to the corner needy teams. Went with the Chargers here. We know the Chargers going to be on the corners. They want to run more man coverage. You get a man coverage corner here. Also thought about the Steelers, but I had the Steelers getting Carlton Davis. I had them going a little bit more of the younger route. So I really thought about that. The Panthers, I think, would like him back. And then Seattle, another one. Again, they're looking for a more proven corner. They didn't want to pay Griffin last year. They want more of that proven guy. So really thought about those teams very strongly. I went with the Chargers, though. Get a veteran, proven corner for those young guys they have, like Asante Samuel Jr., a guy that can, Gilmore, that can help them run a little bit more man coverage there as well. So like the Chargers for Gilmore. And then Marcus Williams, a tricky one because the Saints didn't franchise tag him. So will he go back to the Saints? Keep hearing they're working on extension talks, but it's not getting done. And we're just a couple of days away from free agency. So if he hits the market, somebody could very, very, very easily offer more than what the Saints can pay. The Saints are also focused on, again, we keep hearing Watson, possibly Tyron Armstead as well. I keep hearing Matthew's name get popped up. So, in different type of safety, by the way. So could it end up being a little tricky? So this one's real tough. I still got him with the Saints just because we know the talks are ongoing. I really almost put the Lions in here, though. Lions have, some Saints background there. Aaron Glenn as their defensive coordinator, so and they're looking for a safety as well. They do hold the second overall pick. Could they add one there? Kyle Hamilton, maybe. But I really thought about that. I was almost ready to kind of switch over to, maybe he's not going back to Saints, going to Lions. So this is one I can easily change my mind on. But since we know the talks are ongoing with the Saints, well, who knows if they are the second I'm talking right now, but I'm going to go with the Saints for now. So that's a guy that I have going back. And then speaking of going back, got some other guys that I think are like some big-time free agents that are likely going back, but you never know. Definitely not guaranteeing anything here. The Bucks probably could retain both big-time free agents in Ryan Jensen and Leonard Fournette. Foye Oluokun back to the Falcons, I would think, but there are some teams that could use a linebacker. Seattle, Quandre Diggs and Dwayne Brown. I think they get those guys back. The Patriots, Trent Brown. I don't think Trent Brown's going to have a huge market outside because of his injury concern. He's really only had success with the Patriots, so that should be a reason the Patriots should get him back. Rams should be able to get Odell and Darius Williams back. The Dolphins are working through contract talks with Emmanuel Ogbah, so I think he's going back. Jadeveon Clowney. I don't think a team on the outside should value him that high just because of injury concern hasn't really worked out other than the 1 year on the Browns. So it's a good opportunity for the Browns to get him back. James Conner had such a productive year with the Cardinals. I think they'll like him back. And the Bears will be key to keep their interior offensive line together because it's pretty decent, actually. They just really, really need tackles, so don't want to create too many focuses. So I'd like to think the Bears can get James Daniels back at the guard position. So that does it for video 1. We are going to make a video 2 full with other really good free agents. So I'll kind of save some really good ones for a second video since I knew there was so much. So it would have to be 2 videos. So it's going to be the same thing, just a different video that may be up by now. If not, it's definitely on the way. Should be a Sunday. What is that? The 13th. That is when the video should be up there. But we're going to have free agency signing grades throughout the week pretty much as they happen. Non-stop here at the Goat House on the channel. We have live updates, breaking news, rumors, thoughts, everything. Always talking with you guys, answering questions on our Twitter. There's a link down below. We graded some trades. Links down below for that as well. That'll bring you to the Twitter. So check it out. Again, like, subscribe, turn notifications on because we have you covered fully for the NFL offseason. It's going to do it. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.